Hey guys, JHMR1 here and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to tie on and rig up one of my favorite baits of all time, the chatterbait. So first things first, chatterbaits are bass catching machines, and if fished properly, you can catch a ton of fish. So first thing I'm going to go and do is show you guys how to tie on one of these baits and what knot I like to use for these lures. So let's get right into that. Now, every single chatterbait that you're going to find is going to have a spot right here on the blade to tie on. Not every single one will look exactly like this, but this is what one will look like. So what you're going to do, you're going to take your line. I'm just going to use a segment right here to show you guys. I'm going to be tying the improved clinch knot. If you want a more detailed version on how to tie this, there's a video in the top right where you can go see how to do that. But I'm gonna go and show you guys. So you're gonna take your piece of line, you're gonna put it right through that swivel right there. And again, not every single one's gonna look exactly like that. Now it's gonna look like that. Now you're just gonna go ahead and tie the improved clinch knot. Again, if you want a more detailed version, go check out my video on how to do that. All right, and there we go. And of course, we'll cut the tag end. There we go. Now this bait is tied up and ready to go. So now I'm going to go and tell you guys a little bit about how I like to rig my chatterbaits, what trailers, what colors to throw, when and where to throw them, and so forth. So as with any other bass fishing lure, there are going to be plenty of different colors, different weights, different trailers that you can use with these things. There's all different types of factors. So I'm gonna go and tell you guys a little bit on how I determine which type of bait I'm gonna throw on any given day. Now, in terms of presentation, I generally group chatterbaits into two different categories. There's Shad Style chatterbaits and there's Craw Style chatterbaits. Now, both of these two styles can be used in different scenarios. Generally, the colors can overlap in these different baits, but you're gonna be fishing them for different fish, and I'll explain that here in a second. And before I dive too deep into everything about these chatterbaits, every chatterbait that you see in this video is made by Armstrong Outfitters Tackle. It's a company based in Texas. They make all custom chatterbaits. They make jigs, crankbaits, spinner baits, and so forth. I have a bunch of his baits, so I'm gonna be showcasing them for you guys today. If you like what you see, there will be a link to his website in the very top description below. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, right here in my hand, I have 3 Shad Style chatterbait. This one has a hint of chartreuse, as you can see. This one's mainly just all glitter, and this one's white with a hint of green on it. Now, the thing that are similar about these chatterbaits is that they're all shad based, as I mentioned before. This one, for example, has a paddle tail on it. It's gonna look like a shad swimming through the water. Same with this glitter one, has a paddle tail swim bait on it. It's gonna look like a shad. Now this one has a craw on it, but generally it's gonna be mimicking the same thing. It's gonna be mimicking a shad. Now, these chatterbaits, I like to throw these in the summertime or in the fall. Whenever bass really start chasing shad and honing in on shad, I typically throw these color patterns. Again, fall is the best for me because they really start stocking up on shad before wintertime. And so these colors will do better for me. Also, if you're fishing in a pond and there are shad in that pond, now you know you can throw one of these. Match the hatch. There aren't very many shad, or the bass just aren't eating those at that time of the year, I would stick away from these and I would go into maybe a craw type pattern. So Shad Style chatterbaits are generally gonna be best whenever bass are feeding on shad and there are shad in the body of water that you are fishing. Now, the next 2 baits I have with me right here are 2 Craw Style chatterbaits. This one's more of kind of like a mud craw. It has orange and a little bit of green pumpkin on it, green pumpkin trailer. And this one is an Okeechobee craw with a black and blue trailer. Now, the things that are similar about these 2 baits is they both mimic crawfish. I love throwing Craw Style chatterbaits in the spring. Bass start eating a bunch of craws in the spring in the pre-spawn. Actually, this spring, I threw a watermelon red craw chatterbait by AOT, and I think I caught over 60 fish on that one bait in 2 or 3 days before I broke that bait off. So if you're throwing a craw style bait in the right conditions, and the same thing goes for the shad chatterbait. If there are craws and bass are eating on craws and you know that, like if you pull out some bass that have antennas sticking out of their throats, you know they're eating craws, throw a craw style chatterbait. And I don't really think I need to go far into detail explaining color. If you got muddy water, throw something darker, maybe a black and blue. If you've got cleaner water, throw more of a natural color. Same thing goes for general bass fishing, so I don't really think I need to go too far deep into that. But the 2 styles of baits are what I really wanted to hit on in this section. Now, in terms of actually fishing these baits, I like to think that there are 5 different ways to fish a chatterbait. I know that's a lot more than most people would give you. but I like to think there are 5 ways. You can just swim it normally, just reel it back in. You can burn it, you can slow roll it, you can hop it on the bottom, or you can yo-yo it. All of these 5 different ways of retrieval are completely different and used in completely different situations. For example, slow rolling it, I like to slow roll my chatterbaits in the pre-spawn. Take a cross-style chatterbait, throw it out as far as you can, especially on grass lines, and slow roll it. Let it sink and swim it as slow as you possibly can. And these AOT chatterbaits actually have hydrodynamic blades. You can see the holes in the blade right here, so you can actually fish these a lot slower than you can a normal chatterbait. So slow rolling is probably my favorite way. Next to, like, whenever I'm just picking up a chatterbait and just fishing it, I'm just gonna reel it normally, just like any other bait, spinnerbait, crankbait, whatever, you know, you just regularly reel it back in. That's another way, of course. And I did say burning it. I know some people, and I've done it a little bit, I'm not too good at it, you can actually cast these baits out, and if you get one that you can reel extremely fast, you can get your rod tip up and fish it right under the surface, almost kind of like a wake bait. And I know some people that do that and find success, so that's another way you can fish these baits. Now the last 2 I saved till last because they're completely different than any other way of retrieving them. You have yo-yoing and you have dragging on the bottom. Now dragging on the bottom is going to be the first one I'm going to talk about. Essentially what you're doing is you are fishing this chatterbait just like you would a jig. You're casting it out, you're dropping it to the bottom, and you are literally just barely moving it back in. Just maybe a little hop or 2, or just dragging it. You're fishing it just like a jig, and the only difference is you have a little bit more flash and vibration whenever it makes those small movements on the bottom. Something like that, I would do that in summertime or maybe wintertime. Whenever the bass get a little bit more finicky and you have to fish a little bit slower, that is a technique that I would use. Now the last one I saved, because I haven't really done it that much, but I know it works. Yo-yoing. Pretty much you cast it out, you sink it, you reel up your slack, rip it up, sink it down, reel up your slack, rip it up, and so forth. The same pattern all the way back in. And I fished this, I think it was late in the pre-spawn. It was right before they started spawning. I did that a little bit, and I caught some good fish on it, but I don't want to give you guys like tips or anything because I'm definitely not good at it, but it is a way that I know you can retrieve this chatterbait. So those are all the tips I guess I have on fishing these baits. And again, as I mentioned in the very beginning of the video, these are my favorite baits, or one of my favorite baits that I've ever fished. I caught my personal best and my second biggest bass ever on a chatterbait. So they catch big fish. I'm sure I missed a bunch of minute details in this video. I tried to hit the high points. As you can see right behind me, I am in college right now, so I'm trying to get a little bit more organized before I start really pumping out content again. And this is just a video that I was confident in making because, again, these are pretty much my favorite baits. So I just wanted to talk to them a little bit to you guys. I have a bunch of questions on what my favorite bait is, how I fish it, and so forth. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an explanation video on that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications down below so that you don't miss a beat. I also have a giveaway running right now. That link will also be in the description below. Check out my Instagram and you can follow the rules on that post to win a bunch of Guggen baits. So make sure to check that out as well. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, JH Miller 1 out. See ya.